thing that really matters is right here, right now, this moment. Well, for the majority of us as business leaders, owners and entrepreneurs, that's a bit of an oxymoron, really, isn't it? When we're chasing sales targets and we're thinking to the future in terms of vision, in terms of growth, in terms of strategy, in terms of exit. So when we're thinking about now, we're probably thinking about just the stuff that we do. But what if we were to flip that around and actually think about who we are as leaders, how we show up in the moment, how we behave and how we think? Well, of course, I'm talking about mindset. There are some bold promises out there. The $1 million mindset in these simple 5 steps. You know, uncover your ninja potential if you join this course. And I don't know about you, but certainly since COVID, I have scratched the itch when I've seen some of those bold statements and promises. I have read tens of books. I have read hundreds of articles and attended webinars. I have spent money on learning and training. And as much as for the few of us, ideas like fake it till you make it, or if you believe it for long enough, you will be. Yes, that might work. But actually, if we really stop, look, listen to who we are right now, here in this moment, for me, what I've learned is that 2 things matter. How good do I feel? And do I believe that I am connected? I'm a mindset coach and I spend a huge amount of time honing my craft because I work with leaders all over the world. And I have talked with thousands of leaders in confidential conversations. I've talked with leaders pre and post COVID. I've talked with leaders pre and post Brexit. I've talked with leaders pre and post floods and bushfires. And I've asked every single one of those leaders the same question. Where are you going? And I don't mean the next job, and I don't mean the next business. What I'm talking about is, what do you ultimately want to achieve? Where are you going? And what legacy do you want? What do you want to leave behind? And what's really interesting is when we're in times of change or not, the same 2 answers have come back to me. Do you know what, Mel? I want to feel good. I want to feel that I've contributed something. I want to say that I have achieved something, but I also want to feel safe and I want to enjoy the journey. I want to be connected. I want to have a sense of belonging. I want to be inspired as well as challenged. So maybe these 2 humble things might be a pathway to some of those bold promises. But the one thing is for sure, that whether we are in these big, massive times of change and disruption or not, what I've discovered over the years is that this element of the human condition is constant. If we can feel good in the moment, then that means we are achieving success, that we are feeling safe and that we have a sense of being healthy. And if we are connected, then that means that we've got a sense of belonging, and it means that we have got support, and it also means that we can be supported. So could these 2 focus points help us in terms of being better leaders, in terms of being better wives, husbands, friends, parents, colleagues? Well, I absolutely believe so, because feeling good and being connected isn't about getting the future right. It's about getting it right now. It's about getting into now. This is not about what we know and what we do as much as this is about who we are. And if we are able to cultivate and focus on our leadership mindset, I think that we can really make huge changes. And what do I mean when I say mindset? Well, I'm talking about our belief system. I'm talking about what we value. I'm talking about our purpose, our identity. And that manifests in our behavior. It's how we show up. It's our emotions. But it's also about something that I think is underutilized and not talked about enough, which is energy. And energy for me is where alignment comes into play. When mindsets align, fantastic things happen. It's when we're like-minded. Here we are, like minds. But when they're not, when we kind of say, oh my God, that person just doesn't get it. Or when somebody says to us, I don't quite understand what you're trying to say to me. Can you show me where it's worked? Prove it to me, and maybe I'll then believe it. These aren't necessarily wrong. These are just examples of non-aligned mindsets. If we're able to cultivate the right leadership mindset that's right for the times that we're living in, then I absolutely believe that we can change some of this, especially if we recognize how much of a role energy actually plays in this grand mindset piece. And if you think about energy just for a moment, energy flows to where it is most strong. And it doesn't really differentiate between plus or minus. It's about attraction, right? It flows to where it is strongest. And we can all think about some examples of this. Think about a meeting that you've been in or you yourself have walked into, if not a meeting, even a gathering, a party or a dinner party. The key thing is this. We've all felt it when one person enters and the whole energy changes. The vibe changes. That's part of the power of mindset. That's why who we are, not just what we do and what we know, is so important. So how do we cultivate this modern leadership mindset? And what exactly does modern leadership mindset look at? Well, I'm going to take each one of those questions and hopefully answer them for you. First and foremost, how do we cultivate that modern leadership mindset? I like to think of it like a body, like our own physical body. And like a body keeps fit by exercising muscles, actually, you know what? If we learn to exercise our mindset like muscles consistently and repeatedly, then what we're doing is we're keeping them strong and we're keeping them healthy and we're keeping them flexible. So using that same analogy, like our body has different muscles groups and types that need different exercises together to help create a fit physical body, so too, I believe, we have a set of mind-body muscles, which is what we call the 7 dimensions, the 7 leadership mindsets. So there isn't just one mindset. Muscles, when they are healthy and strong, they literally hold us together because they're flexible, which means that we can move when we need to. They give us energy and we become more nimble. And the opposite is true, because when we don't exercise, when we don't keep our physical bodies really top tip, or even just enough for us to be able to move and be nimble and flexible, we can grow weak, we can grow slower, we can even get stuck sometimes. So let's look at these 7 dimensions of modern leadership mindset in turn, or what we might call the 7 modern leadership mind-body muscles. The first one is digital native mindset. And what I really mean by that is, in the times that we're living in, if we're able to tap into that digital native mindset in 2 areas, then we can cultivate and nurture and exercise that particular muscle and mindset. And it's really about understanding that we can have rich experiences. We can create end-to-end experiences that are seamless and in real time. We can leverage and lean into digital as something that is good and is full of potential and possibility. But the other side of the coin for the digital native mindset as well is thinking about values. As we've got the young generation Z and the alphas coming up through school, through the education system and into the work environments, they're bringing with them not passive values, but active values. The next mindset is what I call the beginner's mindset. And I love this because, yes, it's about being adaptive, but it's also about curiosity. It's also about ongoing learning. And most importantly, it's about experimentation. So it's less about thinking, what's the solution? What's the one single pathway that's right for this question, for this challenge, for this opportunity? It's actually about thinking, how many right answers are there for this? The third mindset is what I call the connected mindset, the networked mindset. And of course, that's really about being connected to people, being connected to purpose, being connected to data, and just generally being connected to the dimensions of life and work and business. The next mindset is the authentic mindset, being true to ourselves and being able to speak voice of truth to others, our truth to others. And this really is integrated with purpose and values. But there's another side as well to the open, authentic mindset. It's about transparency. It's about making sure that we do have enough voice and visibility ourselves, and that we empower and encourage voice and visibility for everyone around us, being inclusive, thinking about equality and diversity. The next mindset is data mindful. So I like to think about data mindfulness and just really think about what is my relationship with data in the minutiae of my leadership day and practice, and equally what is the relationship data has with me, the data I create, the data that I receive, the data that I change, the data I pass on, the data that I delete or archive. Then there is the prepared mindset. And this is really important because this is where we look forward into the future and think about trends and think about the trajectory of where change might be going, but equally looking outward at the forces of change that are around us. And if we have that forward and outward looking lens, we can build resilience alongside those other muscles to be prepared when change or uncertainty comes knocking on our door. And the final mindset is human-centered mindset, where we understand our own unique qualities as a human being and also that of those around us. So those are the 7 mindsets. And if we agree that that's what we've got in terms of that modern business mind-body model, how do we exercise them? And you might be thinking now, gee, 7 muscle groups there, Mel, 7 mindsets. I'm on Zoom morning, noon, and night. I am working still at 9 o'clock, if not beyond that. I'm nearing burnout. I don't have any time. I've got one-to-ones scheduled with each one of my team. When will I have time to do all of this? Well, it's okay, because the answer for me is what we call the power of one. And when we put the 7 mindsets together with the power of one, that is the Dylan way. That is the framework that we use in our business and in our mentoring and coaching. Now, the key to the power of one is like this. It's not how much, it's actually how little. It's the least amount of shift in order to have an impact. Now, you've got to remember, thinking back to that muscle analogy, we're not wanting to rip this muscle. What we're wanting to do is lengthen it. We're wanting to flex it, make it more flexible and nimble and strong. So what we want to do is we want to create micro habits, and they become the exercises to which we can commit to consistently and repeatedly, which over time will help us slowly but surely build a new identity and evolve using those 7 muscles and exercising them. The most important of all of the habits that we help leaders adopt and cultivate is what we call the power up. And I want to share this one with you today. So the power up is basically the 1% muscle. And there are 3 types. The power up, which is the effective power up, the experience power up, and the experimental power up. So let's look at the first one, the effective power up. So if it's effective that we choose for today, we'll be looking at productivity. And it might be as simple as, I'm getting loads of emails through from Gary. So what I want to do is, instead of being completely distracted by those emails, I'm just going to create a simple rule in my Outlook. So all of Gary's emails go into one place, and I will look at them as and when it's right for my attention and my energy. Bingo. That's just a 1% effective power up for today. The other type of power up is the experience power up. And this is where we enrich the human experience. And that is enriching the human experience directly for yourself or for somebody around you. And the third power up is the experimental power up. And I love this one. This is kind of, when you've got an itch, when you've got a curiosity, when something's motivating you, you've got an interest in something and you just want to scratch it. And you don't know where it's going to go. And that can be something as simple as reading an article, doing a Google search, or just picking up the phone and asking somebody a question. So the 1% daily power up across effective, productivity, experience, the human condition, enriching the life of yourself or others, and experimental, that curiosity, you don't know where it's going, but you're going to itch it. A healthy mindset, a healthy modern leadership mind body can see the bigger picture, can stay open, can see opportunities and adapt and create and evolve and grow. A stressed leadership mindset can't. We've all heard and probably have all said, oh my God, do you know what? Please, not now. I cannot think straight at the moment. I can't think straight. I'm so stressed. There's one more thing I want to share. Healthy muscles of a modern leadership mind body needs rest for renewal, just like any physical body does. And so when we're cultivating a healthy modern leadership mindset, yes, it's definitely about cultivating and exercising those 7 dimensions that I mentioned earlier on, but it is also about well-being, about our physiology. And I want to quickly share 6 tips with you that I use myself to help my brain and my mindset as a modern leader get into that place of rest for renewal. And the first thing is what is called the 10 o'clock train. And really what it alludes to is try and get as much sleep as you possibly can. Ideally, we all need 8 hours sleep a night. You may not be able to, but if you can get naps, if you can't, then that's absolutely fine. But if there's a way that you can carve out to try and get to 8 hours at least once or twice a week, it's really important, because we know that it's at 4 hours where mentally we get into that rest for renewal state, where our brain and our neural pathways are able to get into rest for renewal based on the exercising that we will have done during the day. The next one is no tech before bed, because get rid of it. You don't need it. We've been using tech all day, so get rid of that technology out of the bedroom, to the point that if you're using your iPhone for your alarm clock, just get an old-fashioned one. The next one is what I call pre-prep, and you may have heard this one before. This is really where we start today. So the day doesn't begin in the morning, the day begins the night before. And actually for me, I do exactly the same at the beginning of the week. So on a Sunday, for half an hour, what I do is I just look at the week ahead just so that I can settle into it. But equally, every evening, I look at what I've got planned the next day. I look at what's in the diary. I look at what's important for me to achieve and where will I attend my energy before I go to bed, again, to help that settle into my brain and my mind. The next one is the 1 minute stop. Now, what I'm saying to you here is not 1 minute every hour. You know how you get that kind of breathe thing that comes up on your Apple Watch? I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying somewhere in your day, set aside 1 minute of silence. That's all. 1 minute. The next tip I have is what I call the variety desk. And you may not be able to do this, but I've got some leaders that I've worked with that have found some crazy and amazing innovative ways of actually doing this, and it helps them re-energize them and it helps them with rest for renewal. And this is basically where you shift your office, so don't have it in exactly the same place. I have recently bought one of these mobile desk compartments. It's 3 pieces of wood that you just slot them in, and you can basically erect a desk anywhere and in a short space as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So much so it actually packs up. I put it in a little bag and I can go down to the local cafe or to a workspace, a group workspace, and just set up desk there. And the final one is connect with nature. That's so simple, I know, but it's such an important one. And I don't necessarily mean put a great big beautiful orchid or a bunch of flowers next to your laptop. What I'm actually saying here is something as simple as your background screen can have nature, your screensaver can have nature in it. Honestly, trust me, it really does help. And so who we are really is, for me, more powerful than what we know or what we do alone. And if we can cultivate all three and really develop that modern leadership mindset so that we can actually become a real source of positive, strong energy, then that means that we're going to be able to align that energy and attract others to come along on that journey with us. And you know what the magic is for me? That when we're cultivating our modern leadership mindset, that mind body, exercising it, it hasn't got an end. There's no hard stop to it. There is no hard stop to cultivating your mindset like a target or a strategy or a goal or a plan. And because of this, maybe, perhaps for all of us, the only thing that really does matter is now. The only thing that really matters is this moment. So, how do you really feel right here, right now?